Today on Coffee Talk Moms, joining us is Melissa Williams, founder of iWRITE organization. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
Hey, Melissa, go ahead and introduce yourself, or do you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
Of course. So I started the nonprofit organization iWRITE 10 years ago after doing multiple school visits throughout the years as a children's author. So I would go into public schools, private schools, charter schools, districts all over Texas, California, and do creative writing lessons based off of my children's books to really get the kids to see the connection between stories and characters and how what they're reading, could get turned into their own writing. And throughout those visits and all of that traveling, I would always hear kids, no matter where I was, ask the same questions. And a lot of them had to do with, well, can kids be authors too? Mm-hmm. And back then there wasn't really anything out there. And I had already started a small publishing company before that. So I had the mechanism to publish kids and people and myself already. So I thought, why not start a contest for kids to feel that success of what it feels like to be published? So the iWRITE Short Stories by Kids for Kids competition really launched the foundation to the organization. So that was one piece, that healthy sense of competition, right? And seeing your work in front of you. And then the other piece to that, my background is psychology and counseling. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the curriculum and lessons and the reason for the organization really did come from that foundation, to make sure that kids have an avenue to really express themselves through a positive method, and to also feel what it feels like to have the therapeutic benefits of writing your thoughts down on paper.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us today. I believe in iWRITE's mission. You know, your organization has a very special place in my heart. It's so needed and it's effective. So thank you again for joining us today. You know, with school being out now and announced that it's going to be out for the remaining of the year, learning loss and lack of practice in those writing skills due to COVID-19 is a huge concern for a lot of parents nowadays. What would you recommend or suggest ways that we can mitigate this learning loss issue?
Right. And, you know, the concept of learning loss, we hear it every time there's a break in the school year, right? We hear learning loss constantly talked about during the summertime, which is why we have all of the summer camps, the virtual online even capabilities. But right now we are in a situation where kids can't go to a workshop. Kids can't go to a camp. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, with no warning, parents are now a homeschool teacher. Right. And so we're all kind of like, what do we do? Because we're also dealing with our work life. We're dealing with our just situation in the home of what does the schedule look like for everybody. Yeah. So parents first need to realize we're balancing a lot now. So really, we're all just trying to get through this, and we're figuring it out as we go. Yeah. At the same time, we do need a schedule of sorts that we can use as almost a foundation for what we have planned for the day. So if that means that whatever you're working on with your child's school, with your teachers, that you have set times that you know you are checking in and you are with your child to do certain activities, make sure that you also have other things that are provided for the child to do on their own. I think that's been the major issue, is parents having to do all of the work with their child as a teacher would be checking in at all times. Yeah. That's where we're gonna have to give ourselves some leniency and kind of prepare ahead on what you're gonna do with your child, and then how are you gonna prepare for them to be doing things on their own throughout the day as well.
Yeah, like transitioning to be strong, independent learners and more engaged in their learning themselves. So that's really good. Thanks for that. So, you know, with writing and working with students with writing as part of your background, what would be, or what pros and cons do you see when it comes to remote learning versus classroom engagement? What are those impacts when it comes to the writing skills?
Yeah, so I mean, just if we were to go back with just remote learning in general, I mean, we have to be honest, it's not ideal. Yeah. It's not ideal for our elementary kids, especially. Right. Yeah. They are not their emotional intelligence, let's just go to that, is not prepared for all of this independence, and especially for it to be thrown into their lap. So we first have to address that this is not an ideal situation, so it's not going to be perfect. An ideal situation is to have someone guiding them the entire time, for someone to be checking their work. All of that hands-on really is ideal for kids. Now, there are, as you know, time has gone on, all of these online capabilities. You see kids, I mean, let's use kid actors as an example, right? They go to school online because they're traveling all over the place. So there are kids that are used to this, but not the majority of children. So what we have to do is make sure that we're meeting them where they really are when it comes to this remote learning. We have to make sure that we're checking in on how they feel about it, so that they don't feel like they're doing something wrong when it's just not working. It's an added bonus that we have the capability to do the remote learning, so that school in general just doesn't disappear, but it's not going to be the 100% that you would get in that interaction with your child's teacher for those 8 hours a day at school. This is something that we're using because we don't have the other, not because it is going to 100 replace, and we're going to see children especially who are already maybe behind level. We're not going to see them jump up a level this year. That's for sure. We all need to get over that. We are going to see learning loss. That is the reality of the situation, especially for children who are behind. So it's important that districts, nonprofits, anybody that is involved in providing programming for these kids, that they do it and they meet it in a way where these kids are able to actually use it. And it's we're seeing some issues with that, especially in school districts where kids don't have access to high-speed internet. They don't have access to even a computer. So they're looking at their lessons provided by the teacher, if the school is even able to, on their parent's phone possibly. So the reality of the situation, we all have to be aware of that.
Yeah, it's a big reality. Thank you for sharing that. That's helpful.
So now on the topic of writing, what would you say are the psychological benefits of writing, as well as the social and the emotional impacts on children?
Yeah, well, you know, kind of going back to the emotional intelligence and in general with children, we know as adults, I mean, we don't do it all the time, but we know if we have something on our chest, something that's bothering us, if we get it off our chest and address those things through communication, we feel so much better. It might not feel good while we're doing it, but we feel so much better, and we know that. Children at this age, especially in the elementary, middle school, even high school years, they don't realize that that is a part of just growing up, right? So the benefit of writing that is just so therapeutic, so special, is children are able to get what's off their chest, even if they're not even writing about what's bothering them. The concept of just putting things down on paper allows that relief that is so necessary when it comes to this age group who is just trying to figure out who they are, why they're upset about something, why they don't understand the way that they feel. Writing has that benefit, and it's not until later in life that you're able to verbally really express yourself in that capacity. Writing lets you do it though, and no one else has to see it. Wow. So we want to have these outlets for kids because we don't want them to do the opposite. And the opposite is the negative actions, the negative habits even. So we don't want kids to have a pattern of, I don't know how to express how I feel and get my stuff out there. So instead, I'm going to become aggressive, or I'm going to become addicted to something. And that's just naturally where it flops to the other side.
That's a good point.
That's incredible. I didn't really think about it from that perspective. I know as adults, we write in, journal. And that totally makes sense for children as well. Thank you. Can you discuss some of the iWRITE programs for kids?
Definitely. So I had mentioned just briefly the publishing contest. which is an international competition. And we have kids from all over submitting short stories, poetry, and even artwork for the cover of our anthologies that come out every year. And we have a theme each year that the kids can either choose to write for, or they can just write whatever they want to write about. But the competition is open for 3rd through 12th graders, and our contest deadline every year is May 31st, so the end of the school year. And our judges, who come from the Houston Public Library system, they choose, it's a rigorous entry process with judging. It goes through many steps, but they're the first foundation of judges. And they choose all of the 100 winners for that year. And those kids get to see their work published in the fall. And then we have our annual big book signing celebration, author panel, red carpet experience in Houston for all of the kids who win. And we've had kids fly in. We've had some grant money, thankfully, fly in from even China to come to our big event. Last year was our big international year, where we were really celebrating how diverse the organization has become. And we had kids come in from Dubai, China, and even France. So it's been really interesting for other kids in Houston, because the organization is based in Houston. You know, a lot of our kids do come from here, but for them to see their work alongside kids who flew in from China, I mean, it really is an experience that is just life-changing for a lot of them. So that's our main program. And then our other program, which launched in 2016, is based off of the guy that you see behind me, the Guy, who is our mascot. We also have a 7-foot version of him that goes and visits our schools. But he's the main character in our creative writing journal for kids. And we have that in English and in Spanish, bilingual English-Spanish. And we have our teacher edition as well. And that curriculum I created years ago to make sure that kids who maybe need a little bit extra invigoration for writing, right? And it's about making writing fun and relatable with this cartoon character. So the journals, they look more like comic books, and the character speaks to them in second-person point of view. He really becomes their writing buddy, their writing mentor, and guides them through the entire story writing process, poetry writing process. Everything is in line with Texas standards for elementary students. So it's been a great resource for teachers, as well as what the Guy is teaching is really complementing what they're already teaching in the classroom, but kind of in a more fun and lighthearted way for the kids to relate to it. So those are our main programs. And then, of course, we've got our iWRITE Youth Club. We're about to launch our very first iWriter digital magazine next week, actually, with our middle school and high school writers. And then we have summer camps and workshops and after-school programming with the Guy.
Nice.
That is super incredible. Wow. I love it. Okay, one more question. What is My 20 Houston?
So Fox, their network, the My 20, they knew with everything going on because of the coronavirus and everybody being forced to stay at home and parents needing extra help. And also, the main piece of this initiative is because they know that children, not all of them have the computer, high-speed internet, and yet that's their only way to be able to connect to learning. So what a lot of these kids do have is a television. And they don't even need to have cable for this, right? And so they launched an initiative with some of the school districts in the greater Houston area and a few of us nonprofits to provide either 30-minute or hour programming for kids to be able to learn at home. So it's fantastic. It was such a necessary thing. It was brilliant. Everybody got on really quickly. So we've been cranking out content, just producing content for these programs every week. So iWRITE has our Class at Home program every Thursday at noon on channel 20. And what we're doing is it's all designed so that kids, all they need is a pencil and paper, and a parent does not have to sit there with them. They get
Oh,
to do it
wow.
all on their own.
Yes.
It's, I
Yeah.
mean, that's what's important, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is we're bringing on our partner authors, children's authors, our illustrator, Ryan Shaw, for the organization, who is the illustrator of I, the Guy, and so much of our other creative design that we have here, and even our iWRITE published kid authors.
Oh,
These
wow.
are all of our guests on the program every single week. And what we're using is a theme each week. So tomorrow, this week, next week, what we'll have coming up is how to create characters based off of maybe a particular animal. We'll also have a week where we focus on historical fiction. We also have underwater animals one week, but basically the kids are seeing how authors have a main character in their story and how they create a story around concepts, and then they get to do it with us. So we have exercises where they get to put their ideas down on paper, they get to storyboard with us, and then they get to watch the illustrator actually draw the character on television. They get to do it too, and they even get to see how iWRITE kid authors have used these same concepts to come up with their own stories, so they get to hear from those kids as well. So there's a lot of reading that happens, but it's very interactive. They get to see all the pictures. Some of them are animated, and then they get to do basically what we've shown them. They get to do it themselves as well. Even get to build comics with us. We have a few episodes where comics are created too, so that's fun.
That is so cool. Incredible.
Yeah, that is. So, Melissa, are all of these services, that programs that you offer, are they of a cost? Are they free?
So everything is free.
Oh, wow.
Everything on television is free. You can go on to iWRITE.org, and it's the first thing that you see when you go online. You can click and sign up to be on the email list where you receive all of our extra resources for free. So a lot of the stuff that you're seeing on TV, we have in hard copy form for people that can go onto the computer and download and print and do that type of thing. Like all nonprofits, we're all kind of in a place where we're working still, as donations and events, aren't the same as they were a couple months ago. So we are hoping that we have people out there that will support so that we can continue to do all of this for free, because that's the way it works. If without the support of the community who really believe in what we're providing for free to people who definitely can't afford this type of extra resource, that's what keeps us going. So
Yeah. So if there was anyone listening, any of our listeners listening in that wanted to make a contribution to iWRITE Literacy Organization, where would they go? How could they make a donation?
we make it very easy. You just go to iWRITE.org, and right there on the top right, you'll see donate. And that is the easiest way. And right now, I mean, those donations are going directly to programming, to be able to provide programming. I mean, you don't need to even look through anything else. If you donate, it's going to programming. So
and any amount is whatever they want to give, right? Any amount.
Any amount. I mean, people don't realize, but nonprofits, especially in times like these, if we could have tons of people donating $5, that literally saves us. I mean, people think, I have to donate this large amount to make a difference. No, if we could just get everybody to donate $5, we would be doing great. I mean, that's really the reality of it. So.
Well, great. That sounds awesome. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you for your service and your commitment to providing the best education possible for so many kids. So thank you so much for joining us, Melissa. This has been great.
Thank you. Thank you all for doing this. I think it is so important for everybody to know what's available out there.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, listeners, for listening in and tuning in to Coffee Talk Moms. Please comment and subscribe, or go to coffeetalkmoms.com for a collection of our upcoming videos or hot topics. Thanks again. Bye for now.